Yeah.
Yes. And so we want to really examine this election to make sure that the massive show of force was not designed to intimidate one side of the political divide in favor of another side, because it is very easy for the incumbent government at the federal center, where the instrumentalities of state power are controlled, to utilize one excuse or the other to beef up security that may undermine a particular candidate. So we need to examine that very, very closely and very, very carefully going into 2019, especially considering the fact that there are pockets of strife and serious violence going on in different sides, different parts of the country that have not been contained sufficiently, and the world is looking on that. So the prioritization of where we deploy our security forces are also very, very important. We want to make sure that there is no overkill in a particular environment because there's some kind of interest. I'm not saying that that has been proven so far, but those are things that we need to watch out for very carefully, especially regarding the elections.
You talked about massive show of force. I mean, isn't that a reflection of the kind of politics that we practice here?
Well, in some ways it could be, but it's not a total ramification of the politics proper, because there are, in a democracy, there's all kinds of civil mechanisms that are built into the average election. And some of those mechanisms are designed to capture any kind of fraud or electoral malpractice without a physical show of force, such as what we saw in Ekiti. And we need to pay attention very closely, because it is the instrumentalities of state.
You can go continue.
Yeah. And so going forward, every aspect of the electoral process in a given democracy such as ours should be watched very closely, because it is the lines between a proper deployment of electoral power through active voting by citizens and the lines for intimidation at this stage of Nigeria's development are actually very thin. And if we take our eyes off the ball on any given aspect of this electoral process, we could find results that are tainted one way or the other. In this case, it appears that the ultimate results, show that there's one victor, and it's not a very high margin. Those figures, as long as they are defensible by the evidence of the voting, then that may very well be an election that comes close to credibility. But the physical show of force at the level at which it was displayed was not, in my view, absolutely necessary. There are covert ways of making sure that security exists without a very massive and intimidatory appearance of a show of force.
Okay, but looking at it, what are the issues that you think will determine 2019 election? Because some people have said that seeing what happened in Ekiti State, this administration might just continue after 4 years. What are those things that will determine the issues that will determine 2019 elections?
Well,
determine it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, 2019 elections being watched very closely, not just within Nigeria, but in international circles. It's probably going to be one of the world's most watched elections, because there's a lot of issues that are arising out of Nigeria that are beginning to affect what happens in the international environment. Security, for one thing, is a big deal in any part of the world, and if one region of the world is seen or deemed as insecure, everybody pays attention to see what happens there. And so in 2019, INEC is not going to be just accountable to Nigerians, they're going to be accountable to the world. And any efforts or any conspicuous or inconspicuous attempts to intimidate any part of the political divide, both on the side of the incumbent at the federal level and on the side of incumbents at the state level. Those are being watched very, very closely. And besides, there's technology also that is going to be deployed in this particular election that would make a difference in determining where any kind of discrepancies may arise. And a lot of the, some of the political parties, I don't know how well some of the candidates are prepared, but some candidates are very well prepared to monitor closely, not just the votes, but how the votes are recorded.
The outcome. But there's another